The desert wind blew hot and dry across the Giza plateau, whispering secrets lost in time. Dr. Leela Farouk adjusted her sunglasses as she stepped closer to the base of the Great Pyramid, her fingers brushing lightly across the ancient limestone. She was not just another Egyptologist. Her specialization was sound, ancient acoustics. And what she had found buried deep in old manuscripts and obscure hieroglyphs had brought her here, on a grant she barely secured, chasing what many dismissed as pseudoscience. A local guide, Amir, followed her warily. "You're sure this is allowed? That chamber? It's not open to tourists." Lila smiled faintly. "We're not tourists." Amir didn't argue. The tools and permits they carried were genuine, thanks to a quiet agreement with the Antiquities Ministry. Leela had come to investigate an old legend that the pyramids could sing, that certain chambers resonated at precise frequencies. Her theory was radical. What if these frequencies weren't incidental? What if the pyramids were designed to amplify sound for a purpose no one truly understood? They descended into the king's chamber. The air grew heavier with every step, the silence deepening into something that felt alive. The sarcophagus lay in the center, empty and cold. Lila set up her sound equipment, a small set of directional speakers and a frequency analyzer. She activated a tone generator, emitting a pure 110 Hz frequency. The walls trembled ever so slightly. Her monitor lit up. The room was responding. "What is it doing?" Amir asked, his voice a whisper. "It's resonating," Lila said, exactly as the old scrolls described. In ancient texts, there had been mention of the breath of the gods, a force awakened by chant and tone within the sacred chambers. Leela believed this wasn't metaphorical. She slowly raised the frequency. At 120 Hz, something changed. A low hum began to fill the chamber. The lights flickered, though they were battery-powered. Amir stumbled backward. "Did you feel that?" Lila nodded. Her skin tingled, as though the sound itself was touching her. She remembered the hieroglyph she had seen in the Valley Temple, a priest standing with arms raised, flanked by what looked like vibrating lines. Could the ancients have used sound in their rituals to create altered states, to open something? She turned up the volume. The hum deepened into a pulse, rhythmic, hypnotic, and then out of nowhere, a vibration echoed behind the walls, a deep grinding noise. Lila froze. "That came from inside," Amir said, backing toward me. Lila didn't move. The sarcophagus was vibrating. And then it shifted. Dust poured from its edges as it slowly slid a few inches to the side. Beneath it, a narrow stairwell descended into darkness. Lila grabbed her flashlight. "Are you insane?" Amir hissed. "You're going down there." "I didn't come this far to stop now." The stairs spiraled downward, rough and uneven, until they reached a small chamber carved deep in the bedrock. It was unlike anything Lila had ever seen. The walls were covered in strange glyphs she couldn't immediately decipher. In the center was a stone dais, with what looked like an ancient tuning fork embedded in it, but massive, taller than a man. Lila stepped closer. The air here pulsed with energy. She activated her device again, this time playing a 110 Hz tone. The tuning fork vibrated. The walls responded, but this time the glyphs began to glow faintly. Amir gasped. "That's impossible." Lila stared, stunned. The symbols weren't just decorations. They were part of a system, a technology. The ancients had engineered this, not just for sound, but for transformation. Suddenly, the chamber shook. A low, droning chant filled the air, but neither of them was speaking. "It's playing itself," Leela whispered. The room was reacting to the tones, or to her presence. The fork thrummed with power, and light, real blue-white light, began to seep from its base. Then came the vision. She wasn't in the chamber anymore, or perhaps she was, but in another time. Around her stood priests in white robes, chanting in harmonic tones. The fork glowed. In the center of the chamber stood a man, no, a figure, cloaked in gold, rising into the air as the tones reached a climax. The priest chanted louder, the tones colliding, merging, becoming something indescribable. When Lila snapped back, she was on the floor, trembling. Amir was shaking her. "We have to leave, now." They climbed out, barely speaking. Back in the daylight, Lila looked over the plateau. Everything had changed. Her theory wasn't just correct, it was incomplete. The ancients hadn't merely built the pyramids as tombs or observatories. They were machines. Machines designed to harness sound, not for power or communication, but for transcendence. Later that night, as she reviewed her recordings in the tent, she noticed something strange. The resonance patterns she recorded weren't random. They formed shapes, geometric, symmetrical, almost like a language. She ran them through a spectrogram. Her heart stopped. The waveform spelled out a phrase in an ancient dialect, "Awaken the voice of Ra." In the weeks that followed, more discoveries followed. Other chambers and other pyramids responded to the same frequencies. Ancient texts referenced divine harmonics and gateways of sound. One even described the fork she found. He who strikes the voice stone shall walk between worlds. The academic world reacted with skepticism, but Leela no longer cared. She had seen what they couldn't imagine, a civilization not only advanced but spiritually attuned to forces we still barely understand. Sound wasn't just vibration, it was a key, and somewhere beneath the sands, more keys awaited. More voices waited to be awakened, and the pyramids were listening. Lila had never been to Abu Sir, one of the lesser-known necropolises south of Cairo. It housed pyramids in much worse condition, crumbling, weathered, forgotten. But that was perhaps why it had been chosen. She knew a warning when she saw one, but the hunger for truth was louder than her fear. Amir agreed to take her. "This place gives me a bad feeling," he said as they approached the Pyramid of Sabur. "There are stories about disappearances." "People always disappear in history," Lila said, but her voice was tighter than she meant it to be. They entered through a half-collapsed entrance. The air was heavy with dust and silence. The inner walls bore far fewer inscriptions than Giza, but what little remained hinted at knowledge just as profound, references to breath chambers and the chords of judgment